What is going on, Movie Meals? Movie Meals, I apologize for the cough. I will not shake it because I don't give up on anything, including my cough.
Probably should see a doctor, though.
Yes, I should. We are here for episode 37 of the old podcast. We got a Boy in the Heron review finally out. We got a lot to talk about today. Thank you, Movie Meal patrons, Kimberly and Karen. Guys, go get some merch. You're going to get one of these beautiful things if you comment, subscribe, share. Beautiful popcorn Movie Meals hoodie. We're going to give that out to a fan who what on earth just happened? There we go. We're back. Recording live. Things happen on my end. Technical things. But we're back, baby. Never went anywhere. You still heard me, but for a second I was vanished.
Yeah, I was trying to play it cool.
We're going to give one of those.
And then you were gone like a second too long, so I was like, oh, crap, I just seemed like a weirdo.
Yeah, it's just product placement, baby. We're here to chat about whatever Kyle tells me. Kyle always like, hey, here are the notes. Then I go, get that off of there. Nobody cares. And in reality, I don't care.
Thanks.
Let's get into it here. Kyle, are we starting with me talking about Wonka?
Yeah, now that you mentioned it.
Come with
Do it.
me and you'll see. I can't sing.
He's not my Wonka.
A world of pure imagination. Anyway, I did see Wonka. Kyle and I had a funny little exchange off camera on the fact that I thought Kyle had also seen Wonka.
Nope.
That has not been the case, will not be the case.
Nah.
I went into Wonka with very meh thoughts. I thought the trailers looked really poor. The Oompa Loompas, Hugh Grant, what are we doing? Looked funky to me. But I went in, girlfriend wanted to see it. I said sure because, there's only a handful of movies I've ever regretted going to see. Cats being one of them. And don't ever listen to anyone that says they kind of liked Cats. They're wrong. They're liars, and they just want to be contrarians. And if they're watching, they know who they are. That movie is bad. There's only a handful of movies I've ever truly regretted going into. Do not regret this one at all. Went in with hopeful expectations and was very pleasantly surprised. This movie is charming as all heck. I left with a big smile on my face. At points, I maybe I'm just getting sentimental in my older age here, but I was like, are these tears about to fall from my face? Do I got to add a movie to the list? No, I did not, but I got close. My eyes were welling up. That's why I got such big bags. It's not because I'm tired.
Of movies that make you cry? Is that the list?
Yeah, I only got a handful. I've only cried in about 4 or 5 movies. Blubbered in one. Blubbered. Technically, I blubbered in 2. I thought
you were saying Blubber the movie was one of them for a second.
Blubber? What even is that? You mean Flubber?
Isn't that the Flubber? That's the movie. The
Never ever back talk Flubber again. Bad talk. I can't talk
that was
myself.
Called Blubber.
Flubber. Wonka left me very pleasantly surprised. It was really nice to see Timothée Chalamet not play a moody, sarcastic emo kid, which he does in 99% of his movies.
Yeah, he's great.
He's great at that, but I want to see range, and he has finally really showed me that with Dune, with this. Obviously he's great in Beautiful Boy. But he's really started to turn. It was really nice to see him in such a positive role. It really was. I mean, when the movie ended, that was the first thing we were talking about on our drive home, was just how nice it was to see him play like a fun, positive role. It made me want a sequel. If they choose to do a second one with him and it's just going to be a remake of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, great, because I loved everything about it. It was magical. I thought the CGI at times was a little meh. The Oompa Loompa, Hugh Grant, was actually like goofy in a okay way. Like, it didn't bother me the way I thought. He's not in the movie much. But I really enjoyed it. The villains are very cartoony, like the way you would hope. Without it being a Christmas movie, it made me feel good. So it deserved to come out at this time. I was in a pretty packed theater. It got an applause at the end, and I sat there and I looked at my girlfriend and I said, I'll tell you right now, nobody gets more upset if he feels a movie doesn't deserve it than Kyle if they gets an applause.
What?
Aren't you the guy that always gets upset if a movie is like okay and people are all cheering at the end, or am I confusing you with someone else?
Oh, I mean, that probably is something that I've said once. When you word it like that, yeah. Yeah. I don't know, I'm like, if a movie's so mediocre, why does everyone else not think so?
This movie is gonna people are gonna really like it. It seems
That's
to
good.
be in a very similar vein, I think, and make people feel a certain way as The Greatest Showman. I don't know if it'll
Mhm.
reach that level of kind of popularity. The songs were great. The score was excellent. It was an excellent score. The way they weaved in old songs from the other movies through orchestral music was just brilliant. It was so subtle, detailed. I was very blown away by how much I really enjoyed Wonka. It was a good time in the theater. And Timothy Chalamet Bing Bong, or whatever Florence Pugh calls him, was very good, and he's very much turned a new leaf for me, because with this and Dune, I really have turned around and really, because I know he is so
Wow.
talented. I know he's so talented, but I
Yeah.
want to see range from my actors. I want to see you go do a goofy comedy like this, where you're playing different versions of character. Like, you're not playing the same emo guy every movie. He's the same character in almost every movie. And it drives me nuts because I know he can pull out the range, and he pulled the range out in Wonka. He's the reason you get teary-eyed, because he's that talented. And he finally really is showing it in the last handful of years, and I love it. I love it.
Wow.
Anyway,
High praise for Wonka. Nice.
Wonka's a pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
Very fun. A good
Nice.
time. In the theater, I left with a smile on my face. And then within 30 seconds, the girlfriends just ruined that smile. Just kidding.
And then I came back to reality.
And then I walked out. Remember, I spent $8,000 or something. It's hard to live and survive. That's why you love the movies, man. 2 hours, just pure joy and entertainment. And I get to distract myself. Anyway, Kyle, what's next on the docket?
I was thinking more about the clapping thing. I think that actually did happen with Jurassic Park Dominion, now that I think about it.
Well, now, Wonka, I can understand people clapping. Jurassic Park Dominion, get the heck out of town. Why are you clapping?
No,
these
people
here?
were idiots. I don't know. Like,
hey.
Look, I don't like to judge people on movie taste, but if you're clapping during Jurassic Park Dominion, we gotta talk. Like,
unless you're a child. Children can
They
clap
were not children.
For the
they
movie.
were not
Okay.
children.
I'm
not bullying children.
I do have a funny story I got to tell you about Wonka, though.
Go for it.
No shy to the audience if you've been watching us for a long time. I'm a teacher. I teach younger kids. And so I enjoy the wacky things kids say. And a family was sitting next to us. And I'll say there were a lot of kids in this theater. They were very well behaved, except the one mom behind me. The previews were just starting. And a little kid had been watching something on an iPad, not super loud, but loud enough where you could hear it around you. But the trailers haven't started yet. The movie hasn't started. I hear his mom lean over and go, okay, you need to turn that off. Maybe 45 seconds goes by, and then farther down the row, a different mom goes, can you please turn that off? We're in a movie, for God's sake. It's like, ma'am, they are. The trailer has just started. And those kids, extremely well behaved. The teenage girls in the theater, extremely well behaved. I was very pleasantly surprised with the audience reaction. But that's not the funny thing. The funny thing is the family next to me. It was like a mom, like a little boy, probably like 10, another little boy like 8, and then like a little girl, probably like 6 or 4. Those would just be my guesses. And dad's sitting next to me. Dad gets up, goes to get all the snacks, as dads tend to do here. And mom is staying with them. And I just, this is all I heard. I'm not watching this. I hear it in between a trailer. There was like one of the little boy or little girl. One of them goes, Mom, I have lice. and mom, without missing a beat, goes, you do not have lice. Do not say that out loud. And just starts berating him. And it's like, you don't have lice. Your hair is fine. You are fine. You can take your hat off. You do not have lice. And I was doing everything I can not to hold it back, because you know that little kid probably like just heard at school, like just learned what lice is. He scratched
Yeah.
his head one time in the theater because he was probably wearing a hat. He's
And he went,
he's like, Mom, I think I have lice, because he scratched his head once. And Mom, don't say that here. People are gonna freak out. So
people are
funny.
gonna freak out.
It was so
That old
funny.
lady will yell at us again. Please don't have lice.
Oh, that lady wasn't old. Straight Karen. I mean, just,
sure. Yeah.
just a 40-year-old turd bag who just needed to be completely quiet right away. I thought at first she was yelling at me because I was turning my watch off, because I can turn it on to theater mode, so it just stays black the whole time and doesn't light up or anything. No, wasn't yelling at me. But anyway, what's next on the docket here?
Let's talk about the new Noah Baumbach movie that's
No,
gonna.
thanks.
Oh, okay,
I'm
that's
just
fine. We'll
kidding.
keep going. It's gonna star George Clooney and have Adam Sandler returning to work with Noah Baumbach again. He worked with him previously for the Meyerowitz stories, if I remember the title right. Yeah, that's what it is. Which that movie was pretty good. I actually kind of like that one.
Never seen it.
But the log line in this, it's on Netflix. I recommend giving it a watch if you are interested in more of Baumbach's movies. All right,
You don't listen to my recommendations. Why should I listen to yours?
I don't know. This one's pretty cool.
Wonka's
so.
charming. Wow, we're at an impasse here.
Well, what do you know? That's the show, folks. But I thought the log line of it was funny just because it's being described as a funny and emotional coming of age story about adults.
I know, you sent me that, and I immediately responded. Was like, is that not just a midlife crisis?
Yeah, it's a midlife crisis movie. That's just call them midlife crisis movies. These guys are in their 50s.
But it also makes a lot of sense for Noah Baumbach because he wrote Marriage Story, and the Marriage Story is basically them going through a midlife crisis.
Yeah, I mean, Meyerowitz stories also kind of is about that to a degree. So
Francis Ha is also kind of about a character going through a bit, I wouldn't say midlife crisis, but like a coming of age crisis. This is Noah Baumbach's wheelhouse. It's just a crisis.
Yeah. An adult crisis. He probably directed his first movie at 20, and he still wrote a story about this. I don't know. Maybe he saw his maybe he saw his dad have a midlife crisis and was like, "I know this like the back of my hand." My dad.
He's the one who gave Ken a midlife crisis.
Yeah, there you go. We're seeing the patterns of his filmography here. I am actually, I do really like this guy. I will be interested in seeing this movie. The logline was just funny because it's like, just say midlife crisis. It's Noah Baumbach. We know what he does. Like, nothing wrong with that, but it cracked us up, so we wanted to share that. And I will say, I am kind of excited to see George Clooney. He hasn't been gone from acting, but I feel like it's been a minute.
He's been directing.
True.
He's been a busy bee, this man, George. He's got, I think, doesn't he have twin girls or something like that? He's got a couple of twins running around at home.
Oh, maybe.
George
I actually don't know that.
Clooney is my mother's number one hall pass, has been since day one. I've known who George Clooney was straight out the womb because my mom introduced me to him very early. I watched Up in the Air for the first time ever within the last couple months, and he was excellent. He was excellent. But you're right. It would be, well, I mean, he's been around, but I haven't watched one of his movies since Money Monster. I didn't see Ticket to Paradise. Hail Caesar, awful. Tomorrowland, I wish would have been better. Gravity in 2013, he's excellent in, but it has been a minute, but he has been directing. He's got a movie coming up that's actually, I think, looks kind of good. The Boys in the Boat, rowing away. Looks kind of fun.
Looks nice. Yeah.
Looks like a charming little film. Like that one
Nothing
with
wrong
Mark
with that.
Wahlberg and the dog. I'm interested in these charming stories.
You are getting sentimental.
Well, actually, Autumn wants to see that one. I don't have much interest in it.
Oh, the dog one?
But I like the people and the boat one. The boat one. But anyway, I think this sounds great. What's next?
Let's talk about The Rock, because The Rock is switching up his old shebang, I guess, when it comes to acting. He's deciding to move away from trying to be the blockbuster nice guy juggernaut, and he's going to be starring in a movie, in an A24 movie with Benny Safdie directing it. It's supposed to be about a wrestler, or no, an MMA fighter.
MMA fighter, yeah.
Yeah, Mark Kerr, and it's going to be going through like his life as an MMA fighter, but also about like his addiction problems and many behind the scenes stuff when it comes to Mark Harris. So I thought this was a really great surprise from The Rock. I think The Rock is kind of hearing from the public that they're sick of the nice guy persona that he tries to put on, that he just comes across so fakeish and brand driven. And despite him acting in movies, like he's not really acting anymore. He's just acting as The Rock. So I
Oh,
do kind of like that he's deciding to try and switch things up and go back into kind of rebuilding and reestablishing himself in a sense. Like he did that in like the early 2000s, and then in the 2010s he was able to be, you know, the franchise Viagra. Like that was what people were calling him around that time with like Fast Five and many other types of movies in that vein. So I don't know, like back to basics, doing a drama, pairing up with a Safdie brother as well when it comes to directing. It could be interesting. I'm happy to see that The Rock is kind of trying to go in the vein of like Dave Bautista and John Cena now, where it's like just switch up what you do. Don't be the same thing all the time. Just switch
well,
up your status quo a bit.
I'd be curious to know if Benny Safdie reached out to The Rock and said we think he'd be perfect for this role, or if The Rock
Yeah.
sought it out, or if it just kind of was a melting pot. I
Mm-hmm.
do think The Rock is annoyed because after Cabin in the Woods came out, and Dave Bautista had been very vocal about him wanting to really expand his range as an
Yeah.
actor, and then Dave Bautista is coming out saying I'm not a wrestler turned actor. I have just switched careers, but I want to be taken very seriously. I'd like to really
Mm-hmm.
get into acting. I think then Peacemaker's out around, right before that too, and it shows John Cena's darker, gritty side, good use of humor and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. And I think people just then look at all these last few Rock movies and it's like he's not doing that. I mean, he's great in Snatch. I think he's obviously, yes, he is playing a version of himself. He tends to always play the tough guy in a
With a heart
movie,
of
yeah, with a
gold,
heart of
the big
gold,
smile.
or yeah,
Yeah.
even when he's a villain, like he's better when he was the villain in Fast and Furious, and then he eventually switches over, which is fine.
But he
But
still became like a good guy,
yeah,
and
but
he still did his
even
rock
in
thing in the
his
spinoff. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. And
Right, right.
but even like with the glimpse of him being that kind of villain, it's great, and you get to see that. So this is all great to me. I think Benny Safdie's a very good director. I think he can get that out of his actors. So I think this is
Mm-hmm.
great. I think it's a great chance for The Rock to say, "Oh, hey, I'm working on this too. I've been to an acting class or two. I know what's going on here." So yeah, anything? Yeah, what's next? What's all?
I actually still want to keep going with this
All
conversation. That's
right.
okay, because what ended up being the most surprising part to me was that Benny Safdie was going to be directing this and not Josh Safdie. I don't know if you remember, but they announced that they were going to go and do separate things and separate projects for a little while. Like they weren't going to do the joint directing thing as a pact, and they wanted to explore their
Yeah.
careers just separately. And for me, I thought that was fine because, lots of partner directors do that. I mean, the Coen brothers are doing that now, and that's totally fine for them to do. But I thought, like, when I read the name Safdie, I just, glimpsed over Benny, read Safdie, and was like, oh, Josh Safdie's probably doing this. Because for me, I was thinking Benny Safdie was just going to go down the acting route. I mean, he's kind of becoming very I would think that people are really wanting to work with this guy as an actor, with the likes of, what he's done in
Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer. I've heard
Yeah.
great things about him in Are You There, God's Me, Margaret, Star Wars. He landed a Star Wars project in Obi-Wan. So I just thought it was interesting that he's going to direct this movie, and it wasn't Josh Safdie. Now, maybe Josh is just going to be directing his own thing and it hasn't been announced yet, so he didn't partner with this rock project. But I just thought for Benny, he would want to be doing the acting thing a little bit more before going back to directing, especially like on his own. So I just found that aspect of it interesting, that he, I don't know, maybe he's able to do both, or he decided like he'd rather do directing by himself and establish himself that way more, perhaps. But yeah, I don't know. That one just came as a surprise to me, so I just thought that was interesting.
I don't find it interesting. It sounds like a guy who loves doing two things. And maybe the
I
other
guess.
and Josh just doesn't seem to like acting as much. I mean, clearly he's directed some great films, Good Time and Uncut
Mm,
Gems. He's a huge part of. So I think a script came across his desk, or he's writing the script and was like, "This is a great story. I'm very passionate about
yeah.
MMA and fighting and things like that. I've really enjoyed my time acting. I'd like to get back in the chair for a minute here and and then we'll see
Could
what
be.
happens after that. I think he just probably enjoys two things at once. You can have more than one hobby, my guy.
Yeah,
Can
that's
dabble.
fair. I just,
Maybe he'll
I don't
star
know.
in it too. That's what John Krasinski's doing.
Yeah, maybe he will. I mean, it is very possible he has like a background role or not background role, but like a side character role in this
He
movie.
might.
Because he's done that for, Good Time, for example. So
And let's just
I don't
see
know.
if this even
That part was surprising.
comes to light. You never know. It's announced today. 4 years from now, I'll be like, wasn't one of many Safdie's supposed to be doing something with The Rock? Was The Rock supposed to play an MMA fight
True.
or something? Like, you never know.
Yeah, that's true.
Speaking of, I brought up briefly John Krasinski. That If trailer, okay?
Mhm.
I think it looks charming. I think it looks fun. But my guy, what are we talking about in the trailer promoting it like you thought of this idea? You clearly grew up on Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. It's the exact same premise.
He was a little busy with The Office, to be fair. He probably missed that one.
No, you don't just miss Foster's Home for. I wish they just called it that. Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. Just then call them ifs at that point. I think the trailer looks great, but that's what the movie is. We're just creating a little home for him. I mean, that's the movie. I just felt bad for all those imaginary friends hanging out in Foster's Home who don't get the credit that they rightfully deserve. Okay?
Maybe today's kids don't know about Foster's Home. Maybe they don't watch it. Maybe this is going to be their Foster's Home. Who knows?
No.
Could be new to them. Oh, okay. Well,
what's next?
Actually, I do want to bring that up. Have you been seeing online that in film Twitter that everyone's angry that the trailer calls John Krasinski like an imaginary director? Like there's like a part in the trailer where it's like from the creative imaginary mind of John Krasinski, and they're like, he's not. He only does Quiet Place movies, and he's actually not a good director.
First of all, he is a good director. If you don't like the movie, then you don't understand filmmaking. Look at what directors should do, and you can tell that John Krasinski does a good job at directing the film. So that's just not true. I have a problem with that line because he didn't come up with this premise of this movie. He watched a cartoon on a Cartoon Network and he stole the idea.
Mm-hmm.
That's what drives me nuts. No, he's a good director. People need to chill. They're putting the word imaginary in the marketing because it's about imaginary friends. And if you couldn't put two and two together for that one, maybe you need to go outside and touch some grass.
It's marketing, guys. It's just marketing. Don't worry. It's
literally called business, pal.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. I'm just happy that there's a live action movie for kids coming to theaters. Like, I feel like those are a rarity now. So,
well,
that's
except,
nice.
Wonka.
Hey, yeah. Yeah,
come with
only
me,
one I could think of
and
this year,
you'll
so it's cool.
Be in a world of pure imagination. I always thought it was "Come with me and you'll see." And then I was listening to the song, and I was like, "Oh, he says be." Huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think it's B. Yeah, that sounds right.
I always thought it was "Come with me and you'll see."
Well, and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. So
it's
see in a world would not really make sense.
It just I've always thought it was "Come with me and you'll see a world of
like,
pure imagination."
Yeah. One of those things like you don't think about. But
Mandela effect.
Yeah.
If you will.
Yeah, one of those.
When are we going to talk conspiracies on this show?
I tried to with the Safdies. I was like, I don't know.
That's not a conspiracy.
It's not really a conspiracy.
Kyle's like, there, put the tinfoil hat on. What does this mean? I saw a tweet
What if something came out about Josh Safdie and we're like, oh, shit.
I saw a tweet that I loved that said Benny and Josh and the Coen brothers should make movies together where like one Safdie and one Coen get together and the others get together and we see who makes the better movie. And I would love to see that. I think that would be really interesting. Anyway, what's next?
Al, why is there a new One Piece anime coming?
It's not new.
Is it not?
It was announced today. Wit Studios is going to remake the show in newer animation. So like the older seasons and the original seasons, they're going to redo it with newer animation. They might cut some stuff out, maybe add something here and there. Fans are losing their minds over this. I'm a big One Piece guy. I'm like, sure, like I would love to go back and see it. I don't think the old animation is bad. In fact, I think one of the best things about One Piece is getting to grow along with the animation because the animation does change pretty drastically. And I think that's one of the nice things in this situation.
It's
Um,
also a product in time, you know? Like
it's
it's
also still
yeah.
airing. Like I get it when they've announced like Naruto's getting like a few more episodes in the newer style animation as like a special little tribute. I think that's great.
Mhm.
If they were to remake um, just some of the bigger arcs, I would be more down with that as like a fun little thing for fans where you could watch it in kind of newer quality animation. But there's something really special about that old school animation style that is part of the magic. So there's a part of me that just doesn't dig it. And it just is a little weird with a show that's currently airing. I know it's airing. It's been airing since the '90s. It's got
Mhm.
1,000+ episodes, but it is a little strange at the end of the day for me. But I will always be glad to see it with new animation. I think they're just capitalizing on the fact that One Piece has really taken over the entire world over the last year, and they want to continue that trend and continue it growing in the West and around the world, and not just being in Japan. But Wit
Mm.
Studios does Vinland Saga, I believe, and or they at least did the first season, and Vinland is incredible, and the animation is incredible. So I'm all for the studio doing great things, but yeah, they're also coming out more excitingly. I believe Wiz Studio is making a adaptation of Uzumaki, which is from our boy Jinji Ito. And it is just a bunch of short stories or one long form story, as Uzumaki is, that's just pure horror in the best ways possible. I will never look at a spiral again after reading Uzumaki. And Wit is supposed to really bring hard detail to his adaptation, and that is what I'm hoping for.
Uzumaki. I'm looking at images of it now. Why do I think this looks familiar? Am I making
Because
this up?
Nick read it when we were in college, and then I read it, and we talked about it a lot.
Annie essays. Yes, yes, you guys did. That's right. Yep,
Yeah, my
that's
brother.
what
For
it
those who
is.
don't know, go check out any essays. Does great stuff over there.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm not familiar with that animation studio, but good luck because this is
Wit
some
is
great
excellent.
illustration I'm looking at right
Oh
now.
my
So
gosh, they made an adaptation. I think in the '90s, might have been the '80s, of his, and it's just a lot of the times you lose some of the nuance of being able to draw with your hand in an anime adaptation.
mm,
And sometimes you're able to keep it. You know, you have huge budgets. You look at Demon Slayer, and it's like, all right, we can keep some of the we've translated this plenty. I guess this looks incredible. And then
mm,
sometimes it doesn't work. And I've watched a little bit of the adaptation of some of his short stories, and they're bad, but they're really trying hard with this to make sure that they keep the detail and the importance. And it is going to be creepy.
yeah.
It's going to scare the heck out of a lot of people. Uzumaki is a brilliant horror manga. Oh my
Hmm.
gosh, it's so good. I've considered buying it. I need to.
You should just buy it.
Oh, I should, but I spent so much money on these dang girlfriends. I said that plural, but there's only
Plural.
one. It feels like I'm dating 8 of them.
What?
How much money I'm spending.
He looks over his shoulder.
She's not here.
You got to be like me. You got to be in a room with a lock on the door. No, I'm kidding.
No, she's not. She's not here. She'll be walking through that door any moment. But anyway,
She'll have heard you.
yeah, that's all right. I whined about it to her face yesterday. I'll continue to whine. Anyway, what's next on the old docket here?
I thought this was interesting. Letterbox is going to add a feature for patron members where they can
What?
show.
Lies.
Oh no, it's true. I'm looking
I'm a
at the.
patron member. I don't see crap on my app.
Well. First off, your app might be broken if you can't see anything on there. So that's not good. um, but they're going to come out with a new feature for Patreon members where when you add, I believe it's when you add movies to your watch list, so movies that are about to be coming out to theaters, say like, if we're about to say Aquaman 2, we put that on our letterbox as a patron member. It would then be able to keep track of like cinemas nearby your location, and they would show you showtimes on that movie that you want to watch. And I don't know, I think that's a smart feature to have. I've been liking Letterbox much more than I thought I
Great
would.
app.
I've been enjoying it, using it way more than the notes app that I would use for keeping track of like lists of movies or what I want to watch or movies I've seen throughout the year. So yeah, I think it's just a really strong app, and it's been nice for like people who enjoy movies and films, such as myself, who don't have like the noise of like Twitter necessarily. I think they've been good at keeping like the obnoxious tools away from it, but we'll see how far along that goes. But at least for the time being with Letterbox, it's a nice safe haven for um for me, it feels like in regards to like enjoying movies and seeing what
Mhm.
other people
It's
that I
because you,
know and like. So
yeah, because you get to pick and choose. You don't get to see a mix of the people you like and randos
yeah,
arguing on Twitter. Yeah,
yeah,
Letterbox is a great app. I think this is great. Another way. I think just at the end of the day, it'll help people go to the movies more. I think this is excellent.
yeah,
Sounds great.
exactly.
What's next?
Also, we're paid by Letterbox.
I wish. I wish. I want one of
True.
their hats. I want
We'll
an
give our
A24
Letterbox top
hat,
four.
and I want a Letterbox hat. I want one.
Do they have their own merch? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, they're copying us.
What's next?
um, well, I think I did bring up Aquaman 2 in my example, so I'll talk about Aquaman some more. Jason Momoa was asked if he's feeling confident that he'll return in the role for James Gunn's new DC cinematic universe, and basically he goes, "Don't bet on it." Like he kind of made it clear of like never say never, but probably not happening.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I am so ready for James Gunn to just reboot this DCU. Do not care. Jason Momoa's a great actor. Can't wait to go see what he does next.
Mm.
Move along.
Yeah.
Move along.
At least
Move
it
along.
was nice. At least that it was nice that it was more honest compared to like, well, I don't know, we're having conversations and I think I could persuade to keep going with this. No, he's just like, no, it's not happening.
Yeah, but he also didn't sound like super arrogant like what's his face who plays Shazam has been
Oh,
sounding.
Zach. Yeah.
Yeah, where he's like, well, I guess if you're the brother, the new head of DC, you can do whatever you want. But it's like,
It's kind of
calm
funny too,
down.
because before that he was like, I'm good friends with James. I'm sure something could happen. We can make something happen. And then he's just sour on it.
Yeah, and then if you keep watching the full interview, they're like, well, he is in the DCEU. He's in his Suicide Squad movie. And he's like, he is?
Mm-hmm. Well, he's not watching all of them.
He's also, isn't he a CGI character? He's the Weasel.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah,
What's next? I don't care about DC anymore. DC sucks. It's so bad. It's like Marvel stinks. Star Wars is stinking. But man, nobody stinks bigger than DC and Warner Brothers. That's why they're doing everything they can to get Timothy Chalamet ding dong over there with Wonka, try to confuse us with all these treats.
The Wonka cinematic universe. So I guess you don't want to talk about James Gunn's comment on the Batman Part 2?
No, I think that's more interesting.
Oh, okay. So I don't know. Probably someone on Twitter asked if Robert Pattinson was going to be in his DC universe or if it was going to be separate, and James just made it clear like Matt Reeves wants to do his own thing, so we're going to let him do his own thing. So it's going to be separate from what we're making.
I think the original this question that's coming up is clarification. We've known that it was going to be his own thing for a while. He came out months ago and said that. I think he was in an interview. I think it was pulled from an interview from Variety, and he said, or Deadline. It was one of those two, and he said, I think he was just asked about it. Like, how did that come about? Like, was that your decision or was it Matt Reeves? And he said, we put it in Matt Reeves' hands. That James went to Matt Reeves and just said, hey, would you like to be in the DCEU? If you do, great. I will work around that. We will figure that out. If not, great. We'd love either way. And Matt Reeves said, I think I would like to make my trilogy and then move on. I think is my guess of what he said. I think that is excellent. I think that's respectful between two directors. I don't think there was any force. I don't think there's any conspiracy. It sounds like two down-to-earth, really good directors who sat down with each other at lunch and went over it. And then I bet James Gunn was like, so what are you doing for the next Batman? And he was like, well, I'm doing this. And they were like,
I'm still writing the script. I'm still writing the script. I don't even know.
Aren't they filming in 2024? I thought the script was done.
Oh, I thought last I heard it wasn't done, but you're probably right.
Oh, yeah. Well, maybe maybe it's both right. Maybe he's not done, but they are filming in 2024. Matt's just at home, just writing along. I imagine Matt Reeves is a handwritten script kind of guy.
Flames are on the pen.
Yeah. Just writing nothing but bangers. Gosh, I love Matt Reeves. Oh, Matt Reeves is one of my favorite directors working right now, man. He's awesome.
Yeah, he's fun. I do kind of wish he was the director for that new Planet of the Apes movie, but that movie still looks good. So.
I saw somebody talking about that the other day, that the new director has made some stinkers, and so they're nervous, but the trailer looks awesome. And they just announced that movie is taking place 300 years after Matt Reeves' trilogy that was announced just yesterday, I believe. And I love that. I love jumping forward in time, letting new apes, let the history of Caesar become kind of a myth, and let these new apes kind of figure out what's going on. I think that's awesome, man. I think that's awesome. Anyway, any other thoughts on James Gunn's lunch with Matt Reeves? I think it's excellent. I think this is excellent.
It was obviously a lunch. Yeah, I don't mind it. I mean, I understand that there is that weird crossover between potentially seeing James's Batman and then Matt Reeves's Batman, but we'll just see how they all line up when we get there. We don't even know if they've done like casting for Batman. We don't know if like Andy Muschietti is going to be the director of that. Like they announced it, but that could change. Like there's just time. There's lots of things called years in time. That's it. Far from where we are now, where anything could change. So
knowing James Gunn, he's probably got a roadmap out, and he says, "This is what I'm thinking," and then every day it's like, "Oh wait, I actually have a better idea. Let's do it this way. Let's do it this way." But I bet we don't hear much about it.
Let's do a middleman movie
until when his Superman comes out. Then things will start actually moving forward. I think pretty quicker after that. We should have had the Batman 2 by then. So I think that's all good stuff. I mean, they got Joker coming out, and it also there was all that narrative for years that you can't do 2 Batmans at once. You can't do that. It's going to confuse the audiences, and it clearly is not true. Joker comes out, doesn't confuse anybody. Then you see Barry Keoghan, and they're like, "Ooh, she's some weird Joker. It was kind of cool." And then people are like, "All right, Ben Affleck's on screen. Okay, pretty good. Robert Pattinson's on screen too. That's pretty cool. Got a couple Batmans running around."
Most people are just on autopilot, and we're just, trying to watch a good movie and go on with our day. Like that's just kind of what
life. I think I can handle a couple Batmans.
Most people aren't weirdos like us worrying about stuff like this. They're just like, "Oh, Batman, that was cool," and then they have to go get groceries. They have to feed their children.
Facts. What's next?
How about we cap things off with this Ben Solo
Finally,
news.
You bring up a topic that has some weight to it. Gosh darn it.
I figured this should be the last one. Alex, do you want to...
have we really gotten through everything? There was nothing else? You cut something that you didn't tell me about?
No, we're good, baby.
Man, the bag's under these bad boys right here. Oh, I'm a tired man. I'm old. That's what happens when you teach children. Just tired.
I bet.
So, Adam Driver.
That's why I moisturize and don't do that.
I moisturize. I try all day.
A bottle a day. I'm trying.
Probably a good. Yeah, those are great clip outs right there.
Yeah,
Let's get those images all over the internet.
Photoshop.
This is for the fun of the people who actually watch the podcast all the way through. And if you guys ever wonder if we put the podcast on other platforms, we did a long time ago. Nobody watched it over there. It was only on YouTube. So we just decided to go back to YouTube only.
Yeah, it's working.
Anyway, Adam Driver was on Rich Eisen's podcast, Elite Show. I love when Rich Eisen I love when sports people bring on actors and they clearly have to go to somebody in the studio and be like, what are good questions to ask him? And I think Rich Eisen, giving him his credit where it's due, I think he does know more than I think other guys do. But he was asking him about Solo and Adam Driver or playing Ben Solo and Star Wars and everything in Kylo Ren. And Adam Driver, I think, just clearly does not give a rat's bahootie anymore.
He's working with Michael Mann and Scorsese.
Yeah, I just don't think he cares. And he said he was asked. Hang on, I gotta send this real quick.
To Adam Driver, make sure it's the okay that we can tell this.
I wish. He said, I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but it's a clip. And he basically was asked, was everything planned? Was him becoming good planned?
Mm.
And Adam Driver said no. He said there was always, when JJ and I worked on the first movie, he said JJ and I came up with kind of a roadmap and a plan of where we wanted to take Kylo Ren. And that it was a reverse of Vader. That Vader started out very vulnerable or Vader starts out very confident, cocky, confident, it gets into the dark side and then ends very vulnerable and things like that. And he wanted to change that. He wanted to start vulnerable. And they wanted Kylo Ren to be the opposite. And then by the end, he was really sucked into the dark side.
Mm-hmm.
And he even said on the podcast for all the Last Jedi haters, he said Ryan's movie was very different, but Ryan did not lose sight of where my character was headed.
Yeah.
It wasn't until episode 9. I think that happened for many reasons. He definitely quoted that JJ and him had a plan together.
Mm-hmm.
I think this was a Kathy Kennedy Disney note that needed to change. I think they saw, and I used to get in arguments all the time with people we knew. I saw the arguments all the time online after The Last Jedi. Kylo Ren will turn good. Kylo Ren has to turn good because I love Adam Driver and I love Kylo Ren. So he needs to turn good. That was the narrative. And they did nothing in episode 9 other than listen to all the stupid things fans wanted. Everything. It's if you guys watching have not seen our review of The Rise of Skywalker, go watch it because you go from me.
That's a long time ago.
You go from me in the trailer reaction, hyped, excited, to just the most disappointed I've ever been. I don't know how you can watch The Last Jedi, watch that trilogy back to back to back, and end with, I really like The Rise of Skywalker more than The Last Jedi. I do not understand it. It makes no sense. I think that's a Disney pull. I think JJ was like, all right, whatever, I'll do it. I'll be the one to fix it. And then I don't think they let him fix it. I do think he is part of the problem. I think Kylo from day one should have been the villain. He should have been the main villain all along. The whole point of Snoke being taken out in The Last Jedi is because he is still vulnerable. He's not sure who to trust. So he decides to save Rey instead, thinking Rey will join him and he will become the Sith Lord that he wants to be. There is always two. He knows this. He's the second in this with Snoke. He takes Snoke out and he thinks, now I'm number one, Rey's my second. We will conquer the galaxy. That's what I want. I want to be that. I want to be a Sith Lord. And instead, they go, no. You're going to be a good guy because you love Rey and you got to give her a little smoochy smooch out of gratitude.
Did I black that out of my memory?
That they kiss? Well,
yeah, I forgot about that.
After, as the novel corrected. And let's not be incorrect here canon-wise. The novel changes the kiss. They point out that they do not love each other, other than it was a kiss of gratitude. That's what it's described as in the novel. And the novel is technically more canon than the movie.
How?
Because it's an expansion, basically, of the original script. So, like, what they cut out of the script, they would expand into a novel. So you get little things here and there like that. Rise of Skywalker is truly the worst Star Wars movie. We just watched Godzilla -1, and they pulled off something they tried to do in that movie so much better than they do in Star Wars and that in Rise of Skywalker. It's wild how easy that thing to pull off was and how it doesn't work. I've rewatched every Star Wars movie multiple times since they've left theaters. I haven't watched Rise of Skywalker once since it's left theaters. I will at some point whenever I do my rewatch of all the movies. I will, because I don't want to skip them. I love Star Wars, and I want to see, do I still hate it as much as I do, which I'm sure I will. But I think this is a very interesting take, and I think what Adam Driver is saying at the end of the day is Disney made us change this. And I think that's why Dave Filoni getting in charge now and having a lot of creative control is so important, because I think if he had that at that time, I think Dave Filoni would have walked in and said, absolutely not. Like, we're not doing that. We're not making it. Oh man, you could have made Rey Aang. She could have been Star Wars' Avatar in the most beautiful and best way possible. And they still try to do it, and it doesn't work because they made a bad movie. And they could have made Kylo such a great villain and a great Sith Lord, and they didn't. And they really they thought they knew kind of, I think, the overall essence of Star Wars, and they got lost in what they thought Star Wars needed to be. And I really, at the end of the day, think only Rian Johnson knew what Star Wars needed to be. And he made a story. And look, you can get mad at him all you want. He was handed the baton from JJ. You can argue from day in and day out. You don't need to make Luke grumpy on that island. But he chose to make that. But why is Luke on an island in the first place? Why have we taken Luke out of a movie? Because Disney was so set on each legacy character needed their own movie, which was dumb. Remember when the marketing for Rise of Skywalker was, we got to bring the band back together. We want them to be together. They're barely together in the movie.
Oh,
barely.
I remember that.
Barely.
Somehow I don't remember the kiss, but
and nobody
I remember
will
that.
ever. Oh my gosh, I'll never let people forgive this. People will defend Rise of Skywalker and hate on The Last Jedi, and they will hate and hate and hate on The Last Jedi for what Finn does. Finn does the exact same thing in both movies. He meets a new girl in both movies who teach him a lesson. Well, actually, in Rise of Skywalker, he teaches her the lesson. In Last Jedi, she teaches him the lesson, and they ride space ponies. Happens twice.
Who did he meet? Who was the
Lando's daughter?
Lando's daughter?
Yep. Wow. Well,
Who? No,
it's not actually his daughter, but he like kind of adopts her in that Lando Calrissian way.
Oh, wait, was she a stormtrooper? Was she in
like
the stormtrooper?
Ex
What?
Military person, same as him. Yeah.
What the
They
hell?
made on the planet where the Death Star crashed. Bits and pieces of it fell.
I remember they held up the puzzle piece to the ship, and then
they
that's
meet her
it.
after that.
They meet her after that?
Around then, yeah. They actually might have met her before that.
Who is this person? Okay, I literally, I remember our review, and that's it, apparently.
Well, it's rightfully so.
Oh, man, that
movie sucks.
Yeah, that was your most defeated.
I looked insanely depressed in the review.
I thought we'd had to turn off the camera and help you out. Or
there are times Kyle's like talking about things that aren't working, and he's trying to not be like he's looking at it from like, I'm a fan of Star Wars, I'm a fan of film, but I'm not a nerd, like
right.
deep heavy
yes,
brain.
that is what.
And so you're trying to keep me alive, and I'm literally just sitting there like, I'm just depressed. I'm just depressed the whole time. It's not a good movie, JJ. It's not a good movie. It's bad.
I'm not sure how many positives I found, but I figured I lob one up, and then you smack it down. I lob it up, and it worked out to be. I think that was a good video. I think we turned out all right.
I would not support them rebooting and just saying, you know what, we're gonna try again, and we're gonna make 7, 8, 9 again. I would not support that. I think that's a bad call.
That'd be so dumb. Just
would
let it go.
I would support them saying we're gonna try episode 9 again, bring everybody back. That I'd be all right with, because episode 9 is so bad.
There's that Rey movie coming out. That'll be your episode 9 instead. There you go.
And I hope they retcon some of it.
Sure.
Anyway, anything else?
Nah, we can end it there.
All right,
with you
guys.
Depressed.
Thank you. What did you think? Comment below. Let us know. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you to Meal patrons. Go get some merch. Get one of them hoodies. What'd you think of today's episode? And as always, thanks for watching, Mom.
See you guys.